Today is Sunday, March 29th, 2026, and today is National Mom and Pop Business Owners Day, which feels like a good reminder that a lot of economy still runs on small shops, family businesses, and people who decided at some point that working for themselves might actually be easier than working for someone else. Welcome to This Day in History from Wait, That's Random. I'm your host, C.L. Burns. On March 29, 1638, Swedish settlers established the colony of New Sweden along the Delaware River in North America. The expedition was organized by the Swedish government and the Swedish South Company, which hoped to build a trading presence in the New World similar to the colonies that England, France, and the Netherlands were already developing. The settlers landed near what is now Wilmington, Delaware. Their main goal was trade, particularly the fur trade with Native American tribes in the region. But the colony ended up contributing something else that quietly became part of American frontier culture. The settlers brought with them a construction technique that was common in Scandinavia: the log cabin. Instead of building with large timber frames or stone, log cabins used horizontally stacked logs and notched corners that locked the structure together. The design has several advantages. It required fewer specialized tools, used materials already readily available in forested areas, and could be assembled quickly by a number of people. That practicality helped the log cabins spread throughout the American frontier over the next 2 centuries. Sometimes small colonies leave surprisingly large cultural footprints. Of course, nature occasionally reminds people that even the largest landscapes can behave in unexpected ways. Which brings us to something that happened along one of the most famous waterfalls in the world. On this date in 1848, something extraordinary happened at Niagara Falls. For several hours, the waterfall almost completely stopped flowing. The cause wasn't mechanical or man-made. It was ice. During the winter, large amounts of ice form on Lake Erie and the Niagara River. In 1848, strong winds pushed massive sheets of ice downstream until they jammed together near the mouth of the river. The ice acted like a temporary dam. Because the Niagara River carries water from Lake Erie toward Lake Ontario, blocking the flow upstream caused the water feeding Niagara Falls to slow dramatically. Residents near the falls woke up that morning to an eerie sight. Instead of the usual roar of rushing water, the riverbed was largely exposed. People reportedly walked out into areas of the river normally hidden beneath powerful currents. Some even searched for artifacts that had fallen into the water over the years. Eventually, the ice jam broke apart and the water surged back into its normal flow. But for a brief moment, one of the most powerful waterfalls on Earth simply stopped. Events like that remind people how powerful natural forces can be. But sometimes the changes that shape everyday life come from much smaller places. Like a pharmacist experimenting with a new formula. On March 29, 1886, pharmacist John Pemberton brewed the first batch of what would become Coca-Cola. Pemberton was working in Atlanta, Georgia, and like many pharmacists of the time, he experimented with medicinal tonics. In the late 1800s, pharmacies often sold flavored syrups mixed with carbonated water as beverages and health remedies. Pemberton's formula combined extracts from cocoa leaves and cola nuts with sugar syrup and carbonation. Originally, it was marketed as a tonic that might help with headaches and fatigue. The drink was first served at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta. Customers would purchase a glass of the syrup mixed with soda water for 5 cents. The mechanism behind soda fountains was simple. Carbonated gas was dissolved into water under pressure, creating carbonization. When the pressure was released, bubbles formed, giving the drink its distinctive fizz. At the time, Coca-Cola was just one of many soda fountain drinks. But over time, the brand expanded dramatically and eventually became one of the most recognizable products in the world. And finally, we move to a birthday on this day. Born on this day in 1790, John Tyler would eventually become the 10th President of the United States. Tyler's presidency is notable for an unusual constitutional moment. In 1841, President William Henry Harrison died only 1 month after taking office. At the time, the U.S. Constitution said the vice president would assume the powers and duties of the presidency, but it wasn't entirely clear whether the vice president actually became president or simply served as a temporary replacement. Tyler settled the issue himself. He took the presidential oath and declared that he was fully the president, not merely acting in the role. That precedent, known as the Tyler precedent, had been followed ever since whenever a vice president succeeds a president in office. If you look back at these moments together, something interesting begins to appear. A small colony introduces a practical building technique. A natural ice jam temporarily stops one of the most famous waterfalls in the world. And a pharmacist experiments with soda syrup that eventually becomes a global brand. Different scales, different centuries. But each moment shows how small events can ripple outward in ways nobody expects. Anyway, those are a few things I ended up discovering while wandering through March 29th. Stop by tomorrow and we'll see what other strange pieces of history the next date decides to uncover. If you want to know more about me or the work I do, you can find everything at waitthat'srandom.com. I'm C.L. Burns, and I appreciate you stopping by.